The control tower base, which is the concrete structure, is being constructed by a local firm, and they have a contract to complete the entire base structure for us by the end of October. The top part that you see that has been installed there now is the control tower cabin, and that we have a contract with a Canadian firm called Argyle, and they are now installing the cabin. And when they finish installing the cabin was prefab in Canada. When they finish installing that, they have to put the communication equipment in. In addition to that, there are different sites around here where they're going to install the navigational aids. So that contract with Argyle is also supposed to terminate at the end of October. So they are supposed to deliver this building to us completed by the end of October. So if it looks somewhat unfinished now, don't be alarmed. If you come here by the end of October, it will be finished. Now we are here because these guys are supposed to have the best views of the airport site. They are able to see just about everything on the airport site. Now, of course, what we are looking at here now is the passenger terminal building and the apron. That part of the paving work is on the commercial apron, and the paving is going to be coming right up to this drain that you see right in the middle there. That is the drain that takes the water from the apron. The apron will go all the way into the ravine. That gutter that you see just below the houses, the apron will be paved all the way up to that and up to the drain. That is the commercial apron. That is where we're going to be parking our bigger planes. We have positions there for 3 large jets, 2 wide bodies and 1 narrow body. And then we have positions for about 6 ATR 72s or ATR 42s, the types of plane that Liat and other regional airlines would be using. Now to the south of the apron is our general aviation apron, and which is not yet paved. That is where the sand is, the basin and gravel. That is that area. And then south of that, on the southern side of the road that we just drove past, would be the cargo apron. And so the cargo apron is just below the bank where we're standing on here. And we are going to be able to accommodate 2 jets of the Amerijet type 727s, cargo jets. And on the commercial and the general aviation apron in the center, we are going to be able to accommodate about 22 planes, 22 jets, varying sizes. Now we have started paving, and believe me, the guys are telling me that they are likely to be able to substantially complete that paving work by the end of this year, at the rate at which they're going. Now I believe that it will go over into next year, maybe January, maybe February, but they are going to substantially complete this pavement work by the end of this year, they tell me. Of course, once you finish the apron, we have to do the taxiways. Now this part just on the right side of the drain is what we call our alpha taxiway. That is the lateral taxiway that takes planes from one apron to the other. And if you notice, there looks like 2 roads coming into the taxiway from the runway. So this is our taxiway to bring planes into the general aviation apron and into the cargo, big ones. And then that one up there that is a little bit 45-degree angle to the runway is the taxiway that the planes are going to use from the runway to go into the commercial apron, right? And the runway now is substantially advanced. If you notice, we are right now at the level where we can put on base material for almost all of the runway, except that small area where the white service truck is passing. That is the area just right off the compactor and right off that scraper. There's about 100 meters of runway there that we have to still put some subgrade material. But after the subgrade, like what you see here, after that we now have to put on the base, which would be stone. The stones that you see accumulated there. But because of frequent rains, we try not to put the stone on until we are ready to pave them. Because once water penetrates it, then we have to take it up. And then once you start taking up stones, people are going to write in the newspaper again that they don't know what they're doing. They put down stone and they can't take it up. So you try to avoid that. So what we have here is the subgrade layer ready to receive the sub-base material. Then after that you start the paving. The runway is going to be in asphalt. And if you come here, you can see the extent of the runway. Just to the right of the aggregate that we have accumulated there, that is our threshold position for the southern end of the runway. We call it the 04 end. So you can see it right there. just to the right of the aggregate piles. And this runway now goes all the way up to the white area where you see some white paved area. That is the other extreme of the runway. That is the other turning head of the runway. So the runway runs from there all the way up to that white end. Of course, there are some areas at the end of the runway that we call racer, reserve area, safety ends and so on, that we're not going to be paving, or at least paving to the same level as we pave the runway. The significant amount of work that remains to be done then on the earthworks would be that area where we are trying to extract the rocks. And one of the reasons why we are behind is because there used to be petroglyphs there, and we had to wait until we could extract the petroglyphs before we could do the blasting. But now the petroglyphs are removed. They were removed by Argentinians. We can now start, blasting and taking down that hill. That work is going to continue into next year early. Next to the petroglyph, we are also creating a series of tunnels, big tunnels. Each of them is going to be 10 feet high by 20 feet wide. And there will be 5 of them. So we are going to have 10 feet high, 100 feet wide series of tunnels to carry the Yambu River under the runway. So we are now starting that work. We have excavated the area where we are going to make the tunnels, and that work is continuing. That is likely to be substantially done by the end of the year as well. So in summary, the main work to be done really, as you can see, is the pavement works. And this is going to be in asphalt, which is fairly fast. It's fairly fast work. The runway itself is going to be asphalt except for the 2 heads. That head is going to be concrete, which we are doing now, and then that other head we're going to start soon will also be in concrete. Where the planes are going to be turning around, where there's a lot of friction, we put concrete to avoid the runway deteriorating fast, But most of the runway is going to be in asphalt. The aprons are going to be in concrete, and the concrete works take time. So that is why we are a little bit behind on that one, or we are not as 100% certain that we can get that done by the end of the year. Now we have to work to a target. We can't say just do it anytime. So we have to have some target. But truly I don't think it will be finished by the end of the year. But I believe that maybe January, February next year it will be done. Now, of course, when we finish the construction, we still have a whole series of things to do before the airport becomes operational. So I keep saying construction is not the end of the job. It is a part of the process. But after that, we have testing to do. We have to meet the ECCA requirements to make sure that all of the safety measures are put in place, all of the procedures for the landing of the aircraft are put in place. And then, of course, we have to have a management company to manage the airport. So this is stuff that we are going to have to do next year. So while the construction work is going on next year, we are going to be doing some behind the scenes work to have the airport ready for operation. And I believe confidently that we can become operational by mid next year. That is not a target that is now pie in the sky. That is a realizable date. It is realistic. Now we do have some buildings that are still under construction. This one, as I say, should be finished by the end of October. And you look over there, that white building, which is very close to our building, that is the fire station that has been built. We have, you can see 4 bays, 4 big areas for parking of the fire equipment. 3 of them is for parking the 3 fire trucks that we have just bought, and 1 is for the maintenance. We bought 3 fire trucks from Oshkosh in the US, and they are there now. We've paid for them, they're parked there. They really should have come here in September. The truth is that building should have been finished by the end of September, but they're not yet done. So we are waiting until they finish it in October, and then we bring the fire trucks over, because we want them to be sheltered. You can't bring things and just leave them here in Argyle for a long period of time. They deteriorate right in front of your eyes. So we have to finish that building. That building has been done by a Belgian firm called Inotech. And believe it or not, it must be the most expensive fire station in St. Vincent. 6 million EC dollars that we are paying. Yeah, 6 million EC dollars. Now, next to the building, you see some equipment. The white set of equipment would be part of our concrete batching plant, and the yellow one behind the fire station almost is the asphalt plant. We bought those so that we can control the work and control the price of doing the pavement work. As you know, we also have a stone crusher down there that has been crushing the stones that we need, so that we are essentially self-sufficient in the pavement works that we are doing. Not only that we are self-sufficient, we are also much cheaper. I can give you a story. Now, we asked OECC which is the overseas engineering construction company that built the terminal building. We asked them to give us an estimate for paving the runway for us, because they have equipment in Guatemala that they're not using, and they are prepared and willing to come. How much would you charge us for paving the runway if we were to give you a contract? Their estimate for just doing the work, we would have to provide the aggregate, the cement, the water, and everything else. All they provide would be the manpower and the equipment. 10.5 million US dollars.
Wow.
For just paving the apron and the runway. Our own estimate for doing it, you know, compared to what they have, is $4.2 million. So we are saving far more than half of what they would have charged us. Now you hear people talk about, why don't you have a construction company? Do you want to pay $10 million for something that you can do yourself for $4 million?